Knox Maddox sat at his kitchen table, laptop open, coffee growing cold beside him. The December rain drummed against the windows of his Craftsman home, a steady rhythm that matched his typing. Campaign proposals needed finishing before the weekend, and his team at Meridian Digital counted on him to deliver. T39, Knox had built his life exactly how he wanted it. No surprises, no drama, no family interference. The house around him told that story. Every piece of furniture, every restored detail spoke of careful choices made alone. His grandfather's place had been falling apart when Knox inherited it 5 years ago. Nobody else in the family wanted the burden of an old house that needed work. Knox had seen potential where they saw problems. Just like everything else with his family, his phone buzzed. A group message from his mother's number flashed on the screen. Knox glanced at it, then kept typing. Family messages usually meant someone needed money or wanted him to fix something they'd broken. The phone buzzed again. Then again. Knox grabbed it and opened the message thread. His mother, sister, and brother-in-law were all active in the chat. Photos filled the screen. Resort brochures. Flight confirmations. Excited messages about Christmas plans. Can't wait for our family trip. Aspen is going to be amazing. So excited to spend Christmas together as a family. Knox scrolled through the messages, waiting for the part that involved him. His mother had added him to the group chat, so obviously they wanted him to see these plans. Maybe they needed his help booking something, or wanted him a house sit while they were gone. He kept scrolling. More photos of luxury suites. Messages about spa appointments and ski lessons. His sister Delaney gushing about the perfect family Christmas she'd always wanted. Then he saw it. A screenshot of the reservation confirmation. 5 adults, 2 children. Knox counted the names listed. Harriet Maddox, Delaney Maddox Wright, Troy Wright, plus Delaney's stepchildren from Troy's first marriage. Knox's name wasn't there. He read through the entire conversation again, looking for the invitation he'd missed. The message that explained when they wanted him to join them, or asked if he could make the dates work. Nothing. His phone rang. His mother's contact photo filled the screen. Hey, Mom. Knox, honey, did you see the messages? I saw them. Aren't you excited? Delaney planned this whole wonderful trip for the family. Knox set his coffee down. When am I supposed to meet you there? Silence stretched across the line. In the background, Knox could hear his sister's voice saying something he couldn't make out. Well, honey, Delaney thought it would be best if you sat this one out this year. She wants it peaceful. The words hit Knox like cold water. He'd been excluded. Not forgotten. Not overlooked. Deliberately excluded. Peaceful, Knox repeated. You know how you could be sometimes. Delaney just wants everyone to have a nice time without any tension. Knox knew exactly what that meant. He'd stopped playing along with Delaney's games years ago. He called her out when she lied, didn't laugh at her cruel jokes, and refused to pretend her marriage to Troy was anything other than a business arrangement. That made him the difficult one. I see. It's just this once, honey. Maybe next year. Knox hung up. He sat in his kitchen, staring at the phone. Outside, the rain had turned to sleet, tapping against the glass like fingernails. His coffee had gone cold, but he didn't move to reheat it. 39 years old, and his family still treated him like a problem to be managed. Knox opened his contacts and blocked his mother's number. Then his sister's. Then Troy's point one by one. The names disappeared from his phone. You block your entire family. Leo Castell stood in Knox's doorway, holding a 6-pack of beer and wearing the expression he got when he thought Knox was being an idiot. Snow had started falling, dusting Leo's dark hair white. Come in before you freeze, Knox said, stepping aside. Leo kicked off his boots and followed Knox to the kitchen. Emma saw you shoveling snow at midnight last night. She was worried. Emma was Leo's 16-year-old daughter, and she had inherited her father's talent for reading people. Knox had been her unofficial uncle since she was small, back when Leo was still married and Knox thought his own family might eventually grow up. I couldn't sleep, because you blocked your family 2 days before Christmas. Knox pulled 2 beers from the 6-pack and handed one to Leo. Because my family decided I wasn't worth including in their Christmas plans. Leo twisted off the cap and took a long drink. He'd heard Knox's family stories before. Leo's ex-wife had taken their son to California 3 years ago. leaving Leo with Emma and a lot of experience dealing with family betrayal. So what exactly happened? Knox told him about the group chat, the photos, the phone call with his mother. Leo listened without interrupting, his expression getting darker as the story went on. Jesus, Knox. That's cold, even for them. Delaney's been planning this for months. You don't book a luxury resort at Christmas without advance planning. She knew from the beginning she wasn't including me. And your mom went along with it. Knox nodded. The betrayal from Delaney stung, but his mother's cooperation cut deeper. Harriet Maddox had always claimed to love her children equally, but she'd chosen Delaney's side without a fight. Have they tried calling since you blocked them? I wouldn't know. Leo studied Knox's face. You're not planning to forgive them after the holidays. It wasn't a question. Leo knew Knox well enough to recognize when his friend had reached his limit. Knox didn't forgive easily under normal circumstances. This wasn't normal circumstances. No, good, Leo said. They had their chance to be decent people. They chose differently. Knox felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. Leo understood. Knox had spent years making excuses for his family, trying to maintain relationships with people who saw him as expendable. He was done. Emma wants to know if you're coming to our Christmas dinner, Leo said. She's making those cookies you like. The ones with the jam centers. Those ones. She's been practicing for weeks. Knox smiled, the first real smile he'd felt in days. Tell her yes. Good. And Knox. Yeah, you're better off without them. You know that, right? Knox took a drink of his beer and looked out the window. Snow was falling heavier now, covering the street in white. Somewhere in Colorado, his family was probably toasting their successful exclusion of the family troublemaker. Yeah, Knox said. I know. Knox was editing a client proposal when the doorbell rang Thursday evening. He wasn't expecting anyone. Leo was at Emma's school concert, and Knox had specifically not made plans so he could catch up on work before the Christmas break. The bell rang again, followed by knocking. Knox saved his document and walked to the front door. Through the peephole, he saw Delaney and Troy standing on his porch, suitcases at their feet. He almost didn't open the door. For a moment, he considered pretending he wasn't home, letting them stand in the cold until they figured out their mistake. But curiosity won. He wanted to see what excuse they'd come up with for showing up at his house after excluding him from their Christmas. Knox opened the door. Knox. Delaney's smile was bright and fake, the same expression she perfected for her Instagram posts. Thank God you're home. She stepped forward like she planned to hug him. Knox stepped back. What are you doing here? Our flight got moved to tomorrow morning, Troy said, dragging their suitcases toward the door. We were hoping we could crash here tonight, like always. Like always. As if Knox's house was a free hotel they could use whenever convenient. As if they hadn't just excluded him from their family Christmas. Come in, Knox said, stepping aside. Delaney and Troy brought their suitcases into the living room, making themselves comfortable like they belonged there. Delaney looked around the house, taking in the Christmas decorations Knox had put up for his own quiet celebration. This place looks great, Knox. You've really done wonders with Grandpa's old house. Knox didn't respond. He walked to the kitchen and started making coffee, listening to Delaney and Troy discuss their travel plans like he was their personal assistant. The resort upgraded our suite, Delaney was saying. We'll have a mountain view and a private hot tub. Troy's excited about the ski lessons. I haven't been skiing since college, Troy added. This will be great for my back. Knox returned to the living room with 3 cups of coffee. He handed one to Delaney and one to Troy, then sat in his grandfather's old leather chair. So Knox said, how long have you been planning this trip? Delaney's smile flickered. Oh, not long. A few months, maybe? It was Troy's idea. Troy shot his wife a look. It was your idea, babe, right? My idea. Troy's just being modest. Knox sipped his coffee and waited. Delaney fidgeted with her phone, probably checking her Instagram notifications. Troy looked around the room like he was calculating the value of Knox's furniture. Must have been expensive, Knox said. Christmas week in Aspen. Well, you know how it is, Delaney said. Sometimes you have to splurge for family. The word family hung in the air between them. Knox set down his coffee cup. Speaking of family, Knox said, I noticed I wasn't invited. Delaney's face went red. Troy suddenly found his coffee very interesting. Knox, honey, You know how these family trips can be, Delaney said. With the kids and everything, and you're always so busy with work. I wasn't asked if I was busy. Well, no, but I wasn't asked if I wanted to come. Mom said you decided I should sit this one out. Because you want it peaceful. Delaney's fake smile cracked. Knox, don't be dramatic. It's just one Christmas. Just one Christmas, Knox repeated. The first family Christmas since Grandpa died. The first Christmas in 5 years that everyone was supposed to be together. Just one Christmas. You're overreacting, Troy said. It's not that big a deal. Knox looked at Troy. Delaney's husband had been part of the family for 3 years, but he acted like he belonged more than Knox did. Troy had married into the Maddox name for the status it gave him in his real estate business, and now he felt entitled to decide who counted as family. You're right, Knox said. It's not a big deal. He stood up and walked to the front door. What are you doing? Delaney asked. Knox opened the door. Cold air rushed into the house, carrying snow and the smell of winter. You used my house to get to the airport. You used my silence to shut me out. You're not using me anymore. Delaney stared at him. Knox, you can't be serious. Get out. Knox, honey, don't be like this, Delaney said, her voice taking on the whining tone she'd used as a child when she wanted their parents to take her side. We're family. You planned a whole family Christmas by excluding family. You're lucky I didn't change the locks while you were pulling this stunt. Troy stood up, his face getting red. You can't kick us out. We have nowhere else to go. Hotels are booked this close to Christmas, Delaney said. Knox, please. We'll miss our flight if we don't get some sleep. Knox looked at his sister. She was 36 years old, successful, married, with a trust fund that could pay for any hotel in the city. But she was standing in his living room acting like he owed her something after she deliberately excluded him from their family Christmas. You should have thought of that before you decided I wasn't family. This is insane, Troy said. All this over a stupid trip. Knox felt something cold settle in his chest. Not anger. Something calmer and more dangerous. Get out. Delaney's face crumpled. Real tears started running down her cheeks, not the fake one she used for sympathy. Knox, please. I'm sorry. I didn't think. That's the problem. You didn't think. You never think about anyone but yourself. Knox stepped away from the door and gestured toward their suitcases. Take your bags and leave. Now. Troy grabbed their suitcases, his face dark with anger. This is ridiculous. You're going to regret this. The only thing I regret is opening the door. Delaney stopped in the doorway, still crying. Knox, I love you. You're my brother. Knox looked at her tear-streaked face and felt nothing. If I was your brother, I would have been invited to Christmas. He closed the door and locked it. Through the window, Knox watched them drag their suitcases to their car. Delaney was still crying. Troy was on his phone, probably calling hotels or yelling at someone about the flight arrangements. Knox didn't care. He went back to the kitchen and poured himself another cup of coffee. His laptop was still open on the table, the client proposal waiting to be finished. He sat down and got back to work. Outside, a car engine started and drove away. Knox kept typing that Knox's phone had been quiet for exactly 18 hours when Leo found him in his garage, organizing tools that didn't need organizing. Avoiding something? Leo asked, leaning against the workbench. Knox looked up from the socket wrench set he'd been arranging by size. Just cleaning. Uh-huh. When's the last time you checked your phone? Knox had turned off his phone after Delaney and Troy left. He'd spent Friday morning working on client projects, then moved to the garage when sitting still became impossible. Physical work helped him think clearly. I don't want to check my phone. Fair enough. But Emma's worried about you. She keeps asking if you're okay. Knox felt a stab of guilt. Emma didn't deserve to worry about him because his family were selfish idiots. I'm fine. I know you are. But maybe you could tell her that yourself. Knox pulled his phone from his pocket and powered it on. The screen immediately lit up with notifications. Missed calls, text messages, voicemails. The numbers kept climbing as the phone caught up with everything he'd missed. 23 missed calls from his mother, 16 text messages from Delaney, 8 voicemails from various family members. 2 missed calls from numbers Knox didn't recognize, probably relatives who'd been recruited to guilt him into apologizing. Jesus, Leo said, looking over Knox's shoulder. They really want to talk to you. Knox scrolled through the messages without opening them. He could see the first few words of each text, enough to get the basic tone. Delaney's messages started apologetic and got progressively angrier. His mother's voicemails probably contained phrases like family obligation and Christmas spirit. Knox deleted everything without reading it. You're not even curious what they said. No, Knox meant it. He learned long ago that his family's apologies weren't actually apologies. They were explanations for why Knox should accept their behavior and move on. Reading their messages would just give him new reasons to be angry. And he didn't need new reasons, he had enough already. Want to help me plan something? Knox asked. Depends what it is. I'm thinking about hosting Christmas dinner for people who don't have anywhere else to go. Leo's eyebrows went up. You mean like a charity thing? Not charity. Just dinner. For people whose families suck. Leo grinned. I like it. What are you calling it? Knox had been thinking about that while he organized his tools. The name had come to him fully formed, like it had been waiting for the right moment. Leftover Christmas. Leftover Christmas, Leo repeated. Perfect. Count Emma and me in. Knox felt something loosen in his chest. He'd been alone for less than 24 hours, but Leo's immediate support reminded him that family wasn't just about blood relations. I'll start making calls, Knox said. See who else might want to join us. What about supplies? Food and everything. Knox thought about his savings account, about the Christmas bonus from Meridian Digital, about the trust fund money he'd never touched because he didn't want to depend on his family for anything. I'll handle it. Leo studied Knox's face. This isn't just about having a nice dinner, is it? Knox picked up a screwdriver and tested its weight in his hand. No, it's not. Good. Your family deserves whatever you're planning. Knox put the screwdriver back in its place and looked at his organized tools. Everything had its proper place. Everything served a purpose. He'd built a good life by being deliberate about his choices. Time to be deliberate about his revenge. Miles Garrett looked exactly like Leo's description. A nervous accountant who'd rather be anywhere else than sitting in a coffee shop talking about family trust funds. He kept glancing around like he expected Knox's family to walk in and catch them conspiring. Leo says you need some advice about financial stuff? Miles said, stirring his coffee for the third time. My sister accessed money from our family trust without my permission, Knox said. I want to know if that's legal. Miles stopped stirring. That depends on how the trust is set up. Do you have documentation? Knox pulled out his phone and showed Miles screenshots of the documents he'd found in his grandfather's papers. The Maddox family trust had been established when Knox was in college, designed to provide financial security for the grandchildren and eventual inheritance for the next generation. Miles studied the documents, his nervous energy shifting into professional focus. Okay, so this is a discretionary trust with 3 beneficiaries. You, your sister, and your mother as the primary trustee. But there are some interesting clauses here, such as any withdrawal over $10,000 requires written consent from all adult beneficiaries. Did you sign anything authorizing this Aspen trip? Knox shook his head. I didn't even know about the trip until 2 days ago. Miles pulled out his own phone and made some notes. How much are we talking about? Knox had looked up luxury resorts in Aspen. Christmas week rates for the kind of place Delaney would choose ran between $15,000 and $20,000 minimum. Probably $20,000, maybe more. Miles winced. Yeah, that definitely requires your signature. Do you have access to the trust account statements? Knox had been avoiding the family financial stuff for years, wanting nothing to do with money that came with strings attached. But his grandfather had insisted on making him a beneficiary, and that meant Knox had rights whether he used them or not. I can get them. Good. Because if your sister forged your consent or used funds without proper authorization, that's fraud. Not just against you, but against the trust itself. Knox felt a spark of something that might have been excitement. What kind of consequences are we talking about? Criminal fraud charges if the district attorney wants to prosecute. Civil liability for the full amount plus damages. And automatic removal from any fiduciary positions. Miles leaned forward, his nervousness replaced by professional interest. This could be a big deal, Knox. Trust fraud is serious business. Knox thought about Delaney's Instagram account, her growing influence in the lifestyle space, the brand deal she'd been bragging about. Her whole public image depended on being seen as successful and trustworthy. A fraud conviction would destroy all of that. What I need to do, get those account statements, document everything, and find a good lawyer who specializes in trust law. Knox pulled out his wallet and left $20 on the table for their coffees. Miles, I appreciate this. What do I owe you? Miles waved off the money. Nothing. Leo's helped my family enough times. Besides, trust fraud pisses me off. Too many people think family money is free money. Knox shook Miles's hand. Thank you. Good luck. And Knox, whatever you're planning, be smart about it. People who steal from family trusts usually have other secrets worth finding. Knox walked out of the coffee shop with Miles's words echoing in his head. Other secrets worth finding. He'd always assumed Delaney's lifestyle was funded by her marriage to Troy and her growing social media presence. Maybe it was time to look deeper. The toy drive at Pioneer Courthouse Square was Knox's idea, part of the leftover Christmas plan that had grown beyond a simple dinner. He'd recruited volunteers from work, posted on neighborhood message boards, and convinced 3 local businesses to donate prizes for the kids. What he hadn't expected was to see Rowan Abbott sorting donated gifts at the volunteer table. Knox recognized her immediately, even though 15 years had passed since college. Rowan had the same direct gaze, the same no-nonsense way of moving through the world that had attracted him when they were 23 and thought they knew everything. Knox Maddox, she said when she spotted him. I should have known you'd be behind this. Rowan Abbott. Knox smiled, the first genuinely happy expression he'd felt all week. When did you move back to Portland? 6 months ago. Divorce finalized. Needed a fresh start. Rowan gestured toward a 10-year-old girl who was helping younger children pick out toys. Lena and I decided we liked the rain better than California's sunshine. Knox watched Lena work with the kids. She had her mother's calm confidence and a gentle way of helping without taking over. Good kid. How did you hear about this? Community board at Lena's school. She insisted we volunteer. Rowan studied Knox's face. This is a lot of work for someone to organize alone. What's the story? Knox had been getting that question all week. The truth was complicated, but Rowan had always been good at handling complicated. My family decided I wasn't worth including in their Christmas plans, so I'm making my own. Rowan's expression shifted. That's awful. I'm sorry. Don't be. It's liberating. Is it? Knox looked at Rowan's direct gaze and realized she could still see through his defensive responses. Some things didn't change. Mostly, he admitted. Also enraging. Rowan laughed. That sounds more honest. Want to talk about it over coffee sometime? Lena's been asking about my college friends, and I could use an adult conversation that doesn't involve homework or custody schedules. Knox felt something shift in his chest. For the first time since the whole family disaster started, he wanted to talk to someone about more than just revenge plans. I like that. Good. How about tomorrow? There's a place on Hawthorne that actually makes decent coffee. Knox pulled out his phone to check his calendar, then remembered he'd cleared everything for the week to focus on Christmas planning and family avoidance. 2 o'clock. Perfect. Lena ran up to them, breathless and excited. Mom, can we take some toys to the kids at the shelter? There's a whole box that doesn't have homes yet. Rowan looked at Knox. Is that okay? We have room in the car. Knox looked at the leftover toys, then at Lena's hopeful face. The kid had her mother's instinct for helping people who needed it. Take whatever fits. That's exactly what those toys are for. Lena beamed and ran back to start loading toys into boxes. Rowan watched her daughter work, pride clear on her face. She's going to like you, Rowan said. Fair warning. I'm looking forward to meeting her properly. Good, because if this works out, you'll be seeing a lot of both of us. Knox felt a spark of possibility that had nothing to do with revenge plans or family drama. Something that was just about him and Rowan and the chance to build something new. I hope so. That evening, Knox sat in his kitchen with legal documents spread across the table. Trust paperwork, account statements, and a list of lawyers who specialized in financial fraud. His laptop was open to Delaney's Instagram account, where she'd posted photos from Aspen throughout the day. The resort looked exactly as expensive as Knox had expected. Private suites, personal ski instructors, spa treatments that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Delaney had tagged the location and mentioned the perfect family getaway in her captions. Perfect family getaway, funded by money she'd stolen from Knox. He screenshotted every post that Knox's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. He almost deleted it automatically, but something made him check the message. This is Rowan. Looking forward to coffee tomorrow. Lena wants you to know you're officially invited to Christmas dinner if your other plans fall through. Knox smiled and typed back. Tell Lena I already have Christmas plans, but I'd love to have you both join me for leftover Christmas. The response came back quickly. She says that sounds even better than regular Christmas. See you tomorrow. Knox set his phone aside and went back to studying the trust documents. Miles had been right. Delaney's signatures on the withdrawal authorizations didn't match Knox's signature on file. She'd forged his consent using an old scan from legal documents, probably counting on Knox never checking the account statements that she'd miscalculated. Knox opened a new document on his laptop and started typing. If Delaney wanted to play games with family money and public image, he could play games too, but he was better at it than she was. Knox was drinking his morning coffee and reading trust law articles when his phone rang. Leo's contact photo filled the screen. You're up early, Knox said, answering on the second ring. Emma couldn't sleep. She's worried about the Christmas dinner prep. Want company while you grocery shop? Knox looked at his list of 63 confirmed guests for leftover Christmas. The event had grown beyond anything he'd originally planned, but that was fine. More people meant more witnesses to his success, and more proof that he didn't need his biological family to create something meaningful. Sure, I could use help calculating how much food to buy for this many people. We'll pick you up in an hour. Knox was closing his laptop when it chimed with a notification. Someone had tagged him in a social media post. He almost ignored it, but the poster's name caught his attention at Aspen Resort's official. The post was a standard resort apology, the kind of corporate damage control message companies posted when something went wrong with high-profile guests. But Knox's name was mentioned directly. We sincerely apologize to the Maddox family for the inconvenience caused by the billing error that resulted in the cancellation of their reservation. We are working to resolve the payment processing issue and hope to welcome Mr. Knox Maddox and his family back to Aspen Resort in the future. Knox stared at the post. Payment processing issue. Billing error. His name specifically mentioned as the primary contact. He opened his banking app and checked the trust account. The balance was locked with a fraud alert notice dated yesterday evening. Someone had tried to process additional charges to the account and triggered the bank's security protocols. Miles had moved fast. Knox called the number listed on the trust documents, using the access codes his grandfather had given him years ago. After 10 minutes on hold, he reached someone who could explain what had happened. Mr. Maddox, we flagged the account yesterday when someone attempted to charge additional services without proper authorization. The original withdrawal for $24,000 is under investigation pending verification of all required signatures. What kind of additional services? Spa treatments, private dining experiences, ski equipment rentals. The total additional charges were approximately $8,000. Delaney had tried to spend even more money. Knox felt his anger sharpen into something precise and useful. What happens to the people who are currently using those funds? All charges have been reversed. If they were relying on those funds for their current trip, they would need to provide alternative payment methods immediately. Knox thanked the bank representative and hung up. He opened his laptop and navigated to Delaney's Instagram account. Her latest post was from 4 hours ago, a photo of their family at dinner, everyone smiling and toasting with expensive wine. The post after that, from 2 hours ago, was different. A vague message about travel complications and working through unexpected issues. No photos, no location tags. Knox smiled and opened a new browser window. If his family was dealing with unexpected issues in Aspen, he wanted to see exactly how bad things had gotten. It didn't take long to find what he was looking for. Aspen social media was full of wealthy people documenting their expensive vacations, and several posts from the past day mentioned drama at the resort involving a family whose payment got declined. One video showed Troy arguing with resort staff in the lobby. His face was red, his voice loud enough to carry across the elegant space. Other guests were staring. Someone had already shared the video with captions mocking the broke tourists who couldn't afford their vacation. Knox saved the video to his phone. Another post mentioned a woman who'd slipped on ice outside the resort and had to be helped to her room by security. The timing matched his family's arrival, and Knox was willing to bet the woman was his mother. Knox opened a new document and started writing. If his family wanted to have their drama play out in public, he was happy to provide context for the audience, starting with the trust fund fraud that had paid for their perfect family getaway. The law offices of Rodriguez and Associates looked exactly like Knox had hoped: serious, expensive, and completely intimidating. Carmen Rodriguez herself was a woman in her 50s with steel-gray hair and the kind of direct gaze that made clients tell the truth whether they wanted to or not. "Mr. Maddox, I've reviewed the documents you sent. This is a clear case of trust fund fraud, with evidence of signature forgery and unauthorized withdrawals." Knox sat across from her desk, surrounded by legal books and framed degrees. He'd chosen Carmen based on her reputation for aggressive prosecution of financial crimes, particularly cases involving family trusts. "Well, my options? Several. We can file criminal fraud charges through the district attorney's office. We can pursue civil litigation for recovery of funds plus damages. And we can petition to have your sister removed from any fiduciary positions with the trust." Carmen opened a thick folder and spread documents across her desk. "But I recommend we do all three simultaneously. Maximum pressure, maximum consequences. How long will this take? The criminal charges could be filed within a week, depending on the prosecutor's schedule. Civil litigation will take longer. But we can file for emergency injunctions to freeze any remaining trust assets immediately." Knox thought about Delaney's Instagram account, her growing brand partnerships, her carefully constructed image as a successful lifestyle influencer. Criminal fraud charges would destroy all of that. "Do it." Carmen smiled, and Knox understood why other lawyers were afraid of her. "I was hoping you'd say that. One more thing. I did some research on your sister's financial situation. Her lifestyle expenses significantly exceed her documented income sources." "What does that mean?" "It means this probably isn't the first time she's accessed family money without authorization. We should audit all trust transactions for the past 3 years." Knox felt a cold satisfaction settle in his chest. He'd wanted to hurt Delaney for excluding him from Christmas. But if she'd been stealing from the family trust for years, he could destroy her completely. "How much are we talking about?" Carmen consulted her notes. "Preliminary review suggests at least $100,000 in questionable withdrawals. Possibly more." Knox did the math. $100,000 in fraud charges, plus civil damages, plus criminal prosecution. Delaney's Instagram career would be over before it started. "File everything. I'll have the papers ready by tomorrow morning. Mr. Maddox, I should warn you your family will fight this. They'll try to pressure you to drop the charges, claim it's all a misunderstanding, promise to pay everything back." Knox thought about the group chat that had excluded him, the phone call where his mother explained that Delaney wanted Christmas to be peaceful, the night Delaney and Troy had shown up at his house expecting free accommodation after stabbing him in the back. "They had their chance to treat me like family. They chose differently." Carmen nodded. "Good. Family fraud cases require resolve. Most people fold when the pressure starts. I won't fold. I believe you. One last question. Are you prepared for this to become public? Fraud charges against a social media influencer will attract media attention." Knox pulled out his phone and showed Carmen the video of Troy arguing with resort staff. The social media posts mocking his family's financial problems, the photos Delaney had posted of their expensive vacation funded by stolen money. They made it public first. "I'm just providing context." Carmen's smile was sharp as a blade. "Mr. Maddox, I think we're going to work very well together." Knox spent 3 hours that evening building the website. He kept the design clean and professional, nothing that looked like a revenge blog or personal attack. Just facts, documentation, and careful analysis of financial abuse within family structures. The domain name was perfect, generationalaccountability.com. He didn't use his real name or any identifying information about his specific family. But anyone who read the case study would recognize the patterns. The golden child who could do no wrong, the scapegoat who got excluded and blamed, the enabling parent who chose sides instead of seeking truth. Knox wrote about trust fund fraud, the legal requirements for financial consent, and the way family money became a weapon when one person controlled access. He included screenshots of legal documents with identifying information blacked out, showing the forged signatures and unauthorized withdrawals. The final section was titled "The Cost of Enabling Abuse." Knox wrote about Christmas exclusions, family trips that reinforced hierarchies, and a long-term damage caused by parents who refused to hold their golden children accountable. He included links to legal resources, support groups for scapegoat children, and information about financial elder abuse. The website wasn't just about revenge, it was about helping other people recognize and escape similar situations. Knox scheduled the website to go live at midnight, then opened his laptop to monitor social media. That Delaney's Instagram had been quiet since the resort billing disaster. No new posts, no stories, no updates about their Aspen adventure. Knox checked the resort's official account and found several new posts featuring different families enjoying their luxury Christmas experience. His family had been replaced. Knox's phone rang. Rowan's contact photo appeared on the screen. "How's the website coming?" she asked. Knox had told Rowan about his legal plans during their coffee date. She'd listened without judgment, asked smart questions about his evidence, and offered to help with anything he needed. Having someone in his corner who wasn't related to him or involved in the drama felt like a gift. Going live in 2 hours. "Are you nervous?" Knox considered the question. He felt focused, determined, and coldly satisfied with his planning. But not nervous. "No, I'm ready." "Good. Lena wants to know if she can help with anything for tomorrow's dinner. She's been practicing her table setting skills. Tomorrow was leftover Christmas." Knox had been so focused on the legal strike against his family that he'd almost forgotten about the 63 people who would be coming to his house to celebrate chosen family over biological obligation. "Tell her I could use all the help I can get." And Rowan, "Yeah, thank you for believing this was the right thing to do. Your family stole from you and then excluded you from Christmas. Of course this is the right thing to do." Knox looked at his laptop screen, where the website waited to go live and destroy his sister's carefully constructed public image. Not everyone would see it that way. Then not everyone deserves your loyalty. After Rowan hung up, Knox sat in his kitchen and thought about loyalty. His family had demanded it without earning it, expected forgiveness without offering change, and treated his compliance as an entitlement they could abuse. Tomorrow, he would host Christmas for people who understood that family was a choice, not an accident of birth. Tonight, he would make sure his biological family faced consequences for their choices at midnight. Knox clicked publish and watched his website go live. Knox woke up Christmas morning to 17 missed calls and 43 unread messages. He ignored all of them and went to start the coffee. Outside his kitchen window, snow was falling steadily. Perfect weather for a perfect day. The first guests arrived at 10 in the morning. Leo and Emma, carrying boxes of decorations and Emma's famous Jam Center cookies. Knox hugged them both and felt some of the tension leave his shoulders. "Any word from your family?" Leo asked, hanging up his coat. "I'm sure there's been lots of words. I'm not reading them." Emma looked up from arranging cookies on a plate. "Good. You don't need their drama today." Knox smiled at her. Emma had inherited her father's protective instincts and his talent for seeing through people's garbage. At 16, she was already wiser about family dynamics than most adults. "You're absolutely right." The house filled up quickly after that. Co-workers from Meridian Digital, neighbors from the block, friends Knox had reconnected with over the past week. People brought food, drinks, stories about their own difficult families, and gratitude for a place to belong on Christmas. Rowan and Lena arrived at noon, carrying a casserole dish and wearing matching red sweaters that somehow managed to look elegant instead of cheesy. "How many people did you say were coming?" Lena asked, looking around the crowded living room. 63 confirmed, Knox said, plus whoever shows up without warning. "This is amazing. Our Christmases in California were just Mom and me eating Chinese takeout and watching movies." Knox looked at Lena's excited face and felt a pang of recognition. He knew what it was like to spend holidays feeling like something was missing, like the celebration was smaller and sadder than it should be. Well, this year you're part of a very big, very loud family. By 2 o'clock, Knox's house was full of laughter, conversation, and the kind of comfortable chaos that happened when people who genuinely liked each other got together. Someone had started a card game at the kitchen table. Emma was teaching a group of kids how to make origami snowflakes. Leo was holding court in the living room with stories about his military days. Knox found Rowan on the back porch, watching the snow fall and holding a cup of mulled wine. Escaping the crowd? He asked, joining her at the railing. Just taking a moment to appreciate this. It's beautiful, Knox. All of it. Knox looked back through the windows at his house, full of chosen family. It's better than I hoped. Have you checked your phone at all today? Knox pulled his phone from his pocket and glanced at the screen. The notification numbers had gotten ridiculous. Over 100 missed calls, more text messages than his phone could display, and several voicemails from numbers he didn't recognize. I'll deal with it tomorrow. Your website is getting attention. Lena found it this morning. She's very impressed with your web design skills. Knox had checked the analytics that morning. The website had gotten over 10,000 views in its first 8 hours online. People were sharing it on social media, linking it from family abuse support forums, and commenting with their own stories of financial manipulation and holiday exclusion. Good. Maybe it'll help someone. Rowan studied his face. And maybe it'll destroy your sister's influencer career. Knox smiled. Maybe that too. Leo appeared in the doorway. Knox, someone wants to propose a toast. You should probably be inside for this. Knox and Rowan returned to the crowded living room, where someone had organized everyone into a loose circle. Emma was holding up a glass of apple cider, her face serious. I wanted to say something about today, Emma said. A lot of us have families who don't get us, or don't want us, or just don't know how to love us right. But today we made our own family. We chose each other. She raised her glass toward Knox. Thank you for creating this space for all of us. Thank you for showing us that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about people who show up for each other. To leftover Christmas, someone called out. To chosen family, another voice added. To Knox, Leo said, raising his own glass. Everyone drank, and Knox felt something inside his chest that he hadn't felt in years. Complete belonging, without conditions or manipulation or the fear that one wrong move would get him excluded again. This was what family was supposed to feel like. Knox was cleaning up paper plates and wine glasses when the doorbell rang at 8 o'clock. Most of the guests had left, but Leo and Emma were still there, along with Rowan and Lena, helping with the aftermath of feeding 60-something people. Through the peephole, Knox saw his mother standing on the porch. She was alone, her face streaked with tears, her expensive coat dusted with snow. Knox unlocked the door and opened it. Mom! Knox, honey, we need to talk. Harriet stepped into the house without being invited, her eyes taking in the evidence of the day's celebration. Empty serving dishes, leftover decorations, the warm smell of the house where people had been happy. You had quite a party, she said. I had Christmas dinner with my family. Harriet's face crumpled. We're your family, Knox. We're still your family. Leo appeared in the doorway to the kitchen, taking in the situation. Knox nodded toward him, a silent signal that everything was fine. Leo retreated, but Knox knew he was listening. Where are Delaney and Troy? Knox asked. They flew home early. The trip was difficult. Knox waited. He knew his mother well enough to recognize when she was building up to her real purpose. Knox, you have to stop this legal nonsense. Delaney made a mistake with the trust money, but she's family. We don't destroy family over money. She didn't make a mistake. She forged my signature and stole $24,000. She was trying to create a beautiful Christmas memory for the family. She was trying to exclude me from the family while using my money to pay for it. Harriet's tears started flowing harder. Knox, please. You're destroying her life. Do you know what these fraud charges will do to her career? Knox looked at his mother's tear-streaked face and felt nothing but cold clarity. I know exactly what they'll do. That's the point. This isn't you. You're not cruel. I'm not cruel. I'm done. Knox opened the front door again, letting cold air sweep into the house. You chose her side when she excluded me from Christmas. You chose her side when she stole from our family trust. You chose her side when she showed up here expecting free accommodation after betraying me. Knox, you stopped being my family when you let her erase me. Harriet stood in the doorway, snow swirling around her feet. We're still family, Knox. Blood is blood. Knox looked at the woman who had given birth to him, raised him, and then stood by while his sister treated him like garbage. The woman who had called to tell him he should sit out Christmas because Delaney wanted it peaceful. If I was your family, I would have been invited to Christmas. He closed the door and locked it. Through the window, Knox watched his mother stand on his porch for several minutes, crying in the snow. Finally, she walked back to her car and drove away. Knox returned to the kitchen, where Leo, Emma, Rowan, and Lena were pretending they hadn't been listening to every word. "Everyone okay?" Leo asked. Knox looked around at the people who had chosen to spend Christmas with him, who had helped him create something beautiful from the wreckage of family betrayal. "Yeah," Knox said. "Everyone's okay." Rowan moved to stand beside him, her hand finding his. "Your lawyer called while you were talking to your mother. The fraud charges were officially filed this afternoon." Knox squeezed her hand. "Good. It's really over then," Emma said. "With your family, I mean." Knox looked out the window at the snow-covered street, at the warm lights glowing in his neighbors' windows, at the evidence of community and chosen love all around him. "No," Knox said. "It's really beginning." Knox was reviewing the final proofs for Meridian Digital's biggest campaign of the year when his assistant knocked on his office door. Someone from Portland Business Journal online too. They want to comment on the Maddox Trust fraud case verdict. Knox had been expecting the call. The criminal trial had concluded the week before, with Delaney pleading guilty to third-degree theft and trust fund fraud. The civil case had settled out of court, with full restitution plus damages that effectively bankrupted her influencer career. "Transfer it to my voicemail. I'm not doing interviews." Knox no longer needed to talk about his family's crimes. The legal system had handled that for him. Delaney was facing 2 years of probation, community service, and professional consequences that would follow her for years. Troy had filed for divorce the day after the charges were announced, taking his children and moving to Seattle. Harriet had sold the family house to pay for lawyers and restitution. She'd moved to a retirement community outside Portland, where she spent her time telling anyone who would listen that her son was cruel and unforgiving. Knox didn't care what she told people. His phone buzzed with a text from Rowan. "Lena wants to know if you're coming to dinner tonight. She's making her famous spaghetti." Knox smiled and typed back, "Tell her I'll be there at 6, and that I'm bringing dessert." The relationship with Rowan had developed slowly, carefully, built on mutual respect and shared understanding of what family could be when people chose each other deliberately. Lena had appointed herself Knox's unofficial daughter, dragging him to school events and soccer games, and insisting he attend every important moment in her life. Knox had never been happier to be someone's chosen family. The Leftover Christmas website had grown into something larger than Knox had expected. He'd partnered with family therapists and legal advocates to create resources for people escaping toxic family systems. The annual Leftover Christmas dinner now drew over 200 people, requiring a rented community center and an army of volunteers. Knox looked out his office window at the Portland skyline, thinking about the family gathering plan for next weekend. Not Christmas this time, but Lena's birthday party. Rowan had asked Knox to help plan it, including him in decisions about decorations and guest lists, and whether 11 was too young for a theme party. Knox had never been consulted about family celebrations before. Having his opinion sought and valued felt like a gift every time. His computer chimed with an email notification. Knox glanced at the sender and felt his smile disappear. Delaney's email address appeared in his inbox, the first communication from his sister since the legal proceedings began. Knox deleted the email without reading it. Some doors, once closed, were meant to stay that way. He gathered his work materials and headed home to his chosen family, leaving the past where it belonged, buried in legal documents and sealed with consequences that would last for years. Knox Maddox had learned the most important lesson of his life. Forgiveness was optional, boundaries were essential, and the best revenge was building a life so good that the people who betrayed you became irrelevant to your happiness. Outside his office window, snow was beginning to fall.